All right, welcome to another edition of the Big Blue Report. My name is Randy Zellea from Back Sports Page. That big guy on the bottom there, that's Ryan Darlington. And with us always, the two-time Super Bowl champion, former defensive captain of the New York Football Giants. Of all of yours, 5-1 New York Football Giants. That is Jonathan Casillas. Boys, we have a lot to talk about. We have a lot to talk about. 5-1, man. 5-1. Who saw it coming?
You did.
Nobody.
Randy did. No, Randy. See, he's giving us some stuff about him picking against the Giants, but I think that's the key. Randy picking against the Giants. Let's go every week. Pick against the Giants so we get a dub.
That's right.
Okay. Listen, I will sacrifice my sanity and
your reputation
and my reputation and my good. I walk into that meeting room. People say, "Listen to the podcast. You picked against the Giants. Yeah, I know. I'm doing all this for you. All right. That's
doing it for everybody else.
That's right.
The
ends justify the means.
Yeah. Right. You know, for everything else.
That's right. Let's just keep doing it. Let's keep picking against them. Keep gambling against Danny Dimes, and he'll keep proving us wrong.
Yeah, keep proving us wrong.
Oh my God! And listen, I don't want to. I really want to give a good analysis for what happened on Sunday against Baltimore. And JC, you were there. I don't know if you were there towards the end to see it, but I have to ask one question: what the hell was Lamar Jackson thinking, throwing the ball with 4 minutes left? And I'm happy the Giants won. I think it was very exciting. But from a football standpoint, why is he throwing the ball with 4 minutes left?
That's a good question. Baltimore this year have been making a lot of questionable calls, especially later in the game, and I think people were blaming the coach for it, but I think you got to put it on the quarterback as well. It's like you get a pass play in your ear, with the helmet, go to a run. You know what I mean? Go to a quarterback run. Look, I'm happy that they chose the plays that they chose because the Giants were able to capitalize. And I was actually on my way out of the stadium at the beginning of the fourth quarter, but I was watching it on my phone as I exited the stadium. So I'm literally in the parking lot of MetLife, and there's about a 15 to 20 second delay from the stadium to my phone. So all I hear in the stadium was, and I'm like, oh man, what's happening? And I look, I'm like, oh, a pick. I'm like, oh, snap. And then another play, then a touchdown. I'm like, I left, and my thought was, I wasn't leaving because the game was out of reach. I was leaving because I had to do something. But I did say that, oh, this game is out of reach. I did say that. And there were people leaving that felt that way as well. But I have a job to do, so I was paying attention and watching. But the Giants, you watch the game and it's I'm still questioning, are they a good team? But what you can't question is their pride and their ability to finish. Yeah. These guys got grit. Yeah. I think grit is the right word to use. These guys are very gritty, man. They're gritty guys and they're finishers.
They find a way to win, right? I mean, we got gashed during that game, right? I mean, Drake got 119 yards. Lamar ran for 70. We got gashed. But when it counted, when it was right down to the end, we figured out a way to make plays. They figured out a way to make plays and turn the game in our favor. Just amazing.
Huge plays, too. Huge plays to turn the tide of the game late in the game. And it happened from multiple people, and then this is my thing. We get the ball on an interception, right? We protect the ball and we give it to one of the better players in the NFL, and Saquon Barkley, and he does what he does. Yep. And literally that's what we're doing. We're doing that week in and week out. We're waiting a little long to do it, but the Giants are getting it done late in these games, man, and they're finishing these games, and that's what you want to see out of a team. You want to see a team finish, and they're showing us that. And I think, other stuff will come in. I think some receiver is going to step up for us. I don't think the Giants are going to go outside of themselves to find a receiver, but one of these guys are going to step up. One of them.
I think, and that receiver might be Wan'Dale Robinson, the second round pick. Had an amazing first game for himself. Good. Yeah, it's funny. I spoke with him on Friday, and I told him, I said, if you get into the end zone, I'll be the first one at your locker on Sunday. I was the first one at his locker on Sunday, and he's like, yeah, I guess I had a game. And the simple fact of the matter is, too, though, you guys said they were down 24-20 But these are the games because of what we've experienced for the last few years. This is the games what we expect. Okay, well, you know what? There's no coming back from this. We're mentally trained to think the worst. So now that things are going well, we're like, oh my God, this is really happening. We're really coming back and we're really winning some games. Look, Dable has got these guys to overperform their talent. Okay. They're doing a lot of what they're doing without heavy name talent on this team. You have guys who are grit. That word grit is 100% perfect. Look, Julian Love came up with a great pick. Kayvon got his first sack at the most opportune time. Big plays.
Hit the salsa on him too.
Yeah. Yeah. Big things happen, man. And I'll tell you, 5-1, this fan base deserves it. They've been waiting for it. And I think now the conversation ends about whether Daniel Jones is the right guy for the job. Now it turns into how far can Daniel take this team?
Yep. I agree. And I think with Dayball and Wink Martindale, I think you're seeing what good coaches could do with the talented quarterback. Is he the most talented? Probably not. Does he make the best decisions all the time? Probably not. Do we have the best offensive line? Probably not, right? But these coaches are using what they have and they're changing their game plan per the resources that they have against the opponent that we're playing, right? We saw Wink Martindale have the D-line shift multiple times in this last game, which we've never seen before. I haven't seen that in like decades, bro. Like people don't do that no more. But he knew something about remember we was talking about him knowing Lamar Jackson. But it's not only he knows the offense, not just Lamar. He knows those guys in the offensive line. He know that they were going to jump, and they did. He got them 3 times. 3 times.
A veteran jumping.
That is huge. That was huge for us. And that goes to show me, we got some talent, especially on that D-line. The defensive line is very talented. But Wink Martindale going over there, getting those guys ready to go, and putting in wrinkles every game. And that shift right before 3 penalties in our favor, like that on some real, I was like, when I was watching, I was like, yo, this is amazing. And they keep jumping every time they do it. Every time. It's crazy.
I think I'm sorry, go ahead, Randy.
No, I was about to go ahead, Ryan, but real quick, I just wanted to throw this little stat out there. Saquon Barkley, 22 carries, 83 yards, 1 touchdown. Daniel Jones, 19 to 27, 173 yards, 2 touchdown passes.
5 of those were drops. Seriously, 5 of them were drops.
Yeah, no, you're 100%. You're 100% correct. But it's again the one thing that always, I guess, because we've Ryan, you've done so much fantasy football, is when you see the 19 and 27, you're always hoping to be over 200 yards. But I guess maybe that this offense what Dable's running for Daniel, maybe it just doesn't require him to throw the ball heavily down the field.
It's not meant to be, I don't think anyway, it's meant to be one thing or another. I think, they're so good. Kafka is very, very good. And Martindale is super, super good at JC, like you said, throwing in those wrinkles. I think they're thriving on the chaos that they're creating. Right. I mean, I can't remember seeing so many wildcat sets in a game. I can't remember seeing the pistol come out. I can't remember seeing a tight end take the snap and run it in for a touchdown. There's trickery. There's trickery every game. And I think part of the secret sauce is that they're keeping defenses off balance. I think part of the secret sauce is that they're keeping offenses off balance because you just don't know where it's going to come from. And so the other thing that strikes me about this is that you're absolutely right. It's not about how you project the offense. You're not a run team first. You're not a pass team first. I don't even think it's a individual player thing first. I think they've got this whole squad believing in the team, right? And so when you believe in the team as a whole, you have a tendency to get people to play above their level because they're not playing for themselves. They're playing for the team. And so, just people end up ratcheting up. And as the team gets better, the whole thing kind of increases and gets better and better and better week on week.
I agree. Yeah, no, I agree. Look, when you got a guy when I'm talking about Daboll and the coaching staff, when you have belief in people, when you have belief in someone, like you'll run through a wall for them. You know, that saying has been outlived for a very long time, but it's a true statement. You know, not all coaches that I play for, I will run through a wall for. You know what I'm saying? But some of them I would. And then that's what you see come on Sunday. You see guys that are sacrificing, you know, guys that won't go out of their way to do something, but actually will do their job, knowing that they won't make the play on this play. It's not about me, it's about the team. And that's what I think you're seeing week in and week out. He's asking guys to do certain things that, you know, maybe they were not, you know, doing in the beginning of the season. But you know what? We lost that game against Dallas, and that taught us a lot. And I think since then, we've been better since then, right? The talent ain't changed. The talent's the same, right? But we've been getting better. And even Dallas, that we played them tough. We played them hard. Every game the Giants have played has been 8 points, I think, is the most. 8 points. Everything has been in between that. And then we've won 5 of those games. So, you know, that's a tip off to not only players, but the coaches as well.
JC, I have to ask this question because you went through a change. You had Tom Coughlin in 2015, and then with Ben McAdoo, and you guys lost a lot of close games in 2015, and then won some of those closer games in 2016. It was a change of coach. So a lot of these guys who lost those games last year and now winning some of these games this year, what's the mentality when you have that? Is it tightening up little things that maybe weren't tight the year before?
It's always about the little things. It's always about the details, you know, like unless if it was a bigger thing, you'll be getting blown out by, you know, 14, 21 points. But it's always about the little things. When you come to 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 points, you know, all in one possession, these are a little things. And it's only like 2 or 3 plays that determines that, you know, throughout a game. And we're talking about little mistakes here and there and little details here and there, you know, taking your eyes off your coverage. Boom, that's a touchdown. Having your eyes on the coverage, it's a PBU, you know, like little things like that, you know. And the Giants, I feel like they're figuring it out, and they may not look perfect all game, but they're doing it in the fourth quarter, and they're finishing these games no matter what. They're going into the fourth quarter. Like the Giants have been outplaying almost every single team this season in the fourth quarter, you know, and that is not X's and O's. That's beyond X's and O's. That's a belief. And, you know, me as a fan, I'm not a player anymore. I'm a fan now. I'm just like you guys, right? We're all the same, right? And me, I was like, oh, this is out of reach. I bet you talked to that sideline, nobody thought it was out of reach. Nope. Not one person, because that's what you saw. You saw belief. You saw pride. You saw grit work. You saw grit. You saw all of that in the fourth quarter exhibited by the Giants. And yeah, I think it has to do a lot with the coaches, but each individual man on that team is ready to go week in and week out. And if they're playing hard. Look, and there's a couple guys at that receiver position that aren't playing for us or for the New York Giants. And I think that might be the reason why.
Hey, you started talking about coaching, and JC, one of the reasons I love talking to you on these podcasts is that it's an opportunity to get sort of inside the mind of a player. Somebody like me that's never going to have the opportunity to be on the field or to be in that meeting room or to be coached by someone at the level of a Daboll or a Kafka or a Wink or Martindale. Tell me about, I'm really curious to find out like what you feel was the best coaching you received and what set that apart from maybe some of the worst coaching that you received. Like what are the hallmarks of a good and a bad coach as far as what worked for you?
Well, I'll start at the top. I think when you go top dog, you know, head coach, I definitely go to Bill Belichick, right? And then Bill, so Bill with New England, when I got to New England, it was on a Tuesday. It was right before the trade deadline, right? I show up, I got traded on a Tuesday. I show up Wednesday morning at like 6:30 a.m., go in the building, thinking I'm going to be one of the first ones in the building. Guess who I see as soon as I walk in the building? Tom Brady, right? As soon as I walk in, and in hindsight, I'm sitting there thinking like, did they do this on purpose? Like, did they say, Tom, he's coming in right now? And then they like had him walk in like on some real, like, cause it was like, it wasn't the first time that happened either. Like that was like, it was crazy. That was the first time, but it wasn't the last time, what I meant to say. So I walk in, I see Tom, and I'm like, hey, what's up? Like,
what's happening?
I'm like, what's going on? And he goes, hey, Casillas, man. And, you know, welcome to Patriots. You know, it's good to have you on, man. You know, good to have you on board. Blah, blah, blah. See you later. All right, cool. And I walk in like chest high, like I'm a Patriot now, and I know this is Big Blue over here. I know, but hey guys, cut me some slack. You know what I mean? Like I had to do it. And if I didn't go to the Patriots, I probably would have never ended up in New York. That's just the truth. Okay, guys. So give me some credit, all right?
We still got your best year, so that's all right.
Right, you did. My
best
best years were in New York by far, right? So, all right, cool. So that's out the way, right? So then I go to the meeting, and we're in the team meeting room. He asked Jimmy Garoppolo, right? Backup quarterback. We're not talking about Jimmy G as a starter. We're talking about Jimmy G as a backup, right? He goes, Jimmy, tell me about the head coach and tell me about the defensive coordinator. I'm in the back, like looking around, like, what?
Oh, damn.
What are you, huh? And this is Wednesday. Like, I just got here. Like, me personally, I just got here. But I'm pretty sure that the earliest they could have got their game plan was the day before, was Tuesday, because Monday you gotta watch what you just did. You gotta watch what you just played, right? So I'm like, I'm so confused. And Jimmy was on point. He was on point. He was naming it off, and Bill goes, well, tell me, their past experience together. And you can't look at your notes. So Jimmy's and then, Bill like put his head down, like, come on, Jimmy. And I'm just, bro, my heart's beating out of my chest. Like, I'm like, oh my God, is he gonna ask me questions like this?
I'll see y'all later. I'm out.
Like he would ask questions, and like I'm a linebacker, so he would ask me a question like, not who the running backs are. He's like, who's their third down back, right? Who do you have to worry about ball? Who is the back that has to worry about ball security? Like if there's a back that fumbled twice early in the season, you got to know these things, right? And that, I feel like I didn't have that anywhere else. Like I had Coughlin, I had Sean Payton, Lovie Smith. Like I had some really good coaches. But I think the reason why Bill Belichick is beyond even these legit, probably Hall of Fame coaches in Coughlin and Payton is because of the preparation that he had, not only for himself and his staff, but for his players. He held the players accountable on Wednesday, not game day, and not the following Monday, the Wednesday before you start practicing for the other team. And I've never experienced that before, right? Now, personally, my favorite coach ever was Joe Vitt, who was my linebacker coach in New Orleans. He was a Philly guy, East Coast guy, you know what I'm saying? And got that hard, like Italian accent, like kind of like drops a lot of F-bombs, you know what I'm saying?
I think that watching or listening to you do an Italian accent now is gonna be my favorite thing in the world. I'm gonna give you phrases and I'm gonna make them all my phone rings. That's what I just decided just now. I just decided that's gonna happen. Man. Sorry, go ahead.
But yeah, so I think you gotta give credit where credit is due. I think Bill Belichick, he's won as much as he's won for a reason. Of course, there was Tom Brady there, but without Bill, there wouldn't be no Tom. Without Tom, there would be no Bill. And great coaches, they bring the most out of their players. They get the most out of their players. And I think the guys that I named, the three coaches especially that I named, Coughlin, Sean Payton, and Bill Belichick, those are all Super Bowl winning coaches that got the most out of their players.
But they did it in different ways, though, right? I mean, so Coughlin wasn't the one that was kind of making you detailing on every little bitty thing on the Wednesday. What made him such a good coach? What was it about his style that you responded to?
Yeah, well, Coughlin was like he was similar to Bill, where it's like you got to be an adamant pro. 5 minutes early everywhere. I know y'all know all the clocks.
The Lombardi time.
We're 5 minutes early. And he made it like so like but I just came from New England, so it wasn't a big deal, right? It wasn't a big deal. I'm going to my seventh year. Like I understand how this thing works, but I remember one time I was leaving the locker room and I was on my phone headed to the cafeteria, and he looked at me, he said, no phones. And I looked at him like, bro, what? And I put it away. I put the phone away, but
he still won that exchange.
But he did. Definitely put the phone away. But you know what it was? He when you're in the building, it's all ball. You know, it's all ball. It's all ball in the building. Like you could use your phone outside the building, or you could use your phone in your locker in your locker room, right? But when we around in the building, we talking ball, we playing ball, we smelling ball, we drinking ball. Like everything's ball. Which is, look, man, you can't blame a man for that. Like this is, you know, this is his. Well, he wasn't the owner of the team, but when you're the coach, it's your ship. Team. Yeah, it's your team. You know, so he had that standard, and look, I had respect for him, so I fell in line, put my phone away, you know, and I made sure he never seen my phone again. Did I have my phone in the building? Of course I did. I'm a grown-ass man. But if I saw Tom, I'll put my phone away for sure.
I don't know. Go ahead. I was about to say the one thing that Belichick also didn't do is he didn't announce his backup quarterback was starting, and he was the best option to win that week. You had to deal with that too, by the way.
Right.
And that goes on the other side of that coaching conversation. Real quick, and I'm sorry for every single time we ever bring up 2017, JC takes another drink of wine. So there was one of the let's put a final bow here on Baltimore. This I think might be the most impressive win of the season, better than Tennessee's, but the Tennessee game. Obviously, the Carolina and the Bears game was not on the same caliber as those other two games, but for the fact that Baltimore is constantly in the conversation in the AFC playoff picture, this is a really big win for this Giants team. And it's sort of saying, you know, this team is not a fluke at this point. You have to watch out for them. JC, looking at what they have now for the next 3 to 4 weeks, the I don't want to say that the talent level drops, but it's teams that are playing hard, but they're not in that upper echelon of the league. You have Jacksonville this week. You have Seattle the following week.
Yep.
Then then you have the bye, and then you have Houston, Houston and Detroit.
I know the schedule now. Hey, you hear me?
I know the schedule. Hey, well done.
We learned from last week. Yes, we all learned.
I was so confused. Like, what?
And what's worse is I have it written on my hand, so I'm like, So
well, look, Randy, I fully agree with you, and I know where you were going with that. It's almost like, look, we hit Baltimore, and then we kind of got like some teams. But this is the thing, the NFL, man, when people say it's so hard to win the NFL, that's a true statement, man. It's so hard. You know, you're going to get your best shot. You know, Jacksonville is preparing to play the best team in the NFC. Not saying we are, but that's how they're preparing. That's how they're preparing. So we're going to get Jacksonville's best shot. And I've been watching Trevor Lawrence. The kid got a cannon, right? But before we get to them, let's finish off with Baltimore.
Right.
I agree with you, Randy. I think that was one of the biggest wins in Giants, like especially in the last like 5 or 6 years, especially coming back on, you know, at home, you're down 10 points, fourth quarter, come back and win, you know, with big plays defensively, with your young rookie who been struggling because of his injury. Not struggling because he's not a good player, no, or he's getting dominated. No, he just got a knee injury. He's been struggling in the first few weeks of the season. And he comes back, makes a tremendous play on the ball, right? And then we get the ball, you know what I mean? Like we end the game like it was such a pivotal moment, I feel like, for us. And I think it's going to help traject us. And now look, they're human beings. There's such things as letdowns. You know, and I'm interested in hearing Ryan think about what happened in the game, because look, Randy, I truly agree with you. I think this is one of the biggest wins that the Giants had in some time, and not just this season. Yeah,
I think what we excelled at when we played Baltimore is making amazing plays at the right times. Like it's almost magical, right? I mean, you can sit there and watch kind of, you know, not super amazing plays all the time, but when it came down to it, when it mattered the most, we made the plays that we needed to make to win the game. I mean, like you said, Thibodeau coming up with that strip sack at the very end of the game, amazing. It sealed the deal, right? You know, getting the pick, Julian Love. So Lamar Jackson was trying to make a play. right? He was in the clutches. He knew he wanted to hang on to the win. He knew he wanted to hang on to the score. And so he tried to make a play to keep the ball. Didn't go his way, right? But it went our way. And, we've said before on the show that we've seen so many times where the ball bounced the other way, right? Where, Daniel Jones would be the one that would throw the pick, or Eli would be the one that would throw the pick, or, there would be a strip sack and we'd lose it at the very end, so many times as a Giants fan over the last 20 years, being shown that we could possibly have success, knowing that they were good enough to actually do what needed to be done, and then losing it at the last minute because we shot ourselves in the foot or something like that. I think that's why we all have PTSD when we're watching Giants games, and we're thinking that we're going to be on the losing end of this whole thing. So this year, when we're actually making the plays when it matters the most, and having miraculous things happen during those playmaking times, it's got us all thinking like, holy God, what's happening here? And I think we are in the midst of a magical time, right? I think we are in the midst of a magical season for the Giants at this point in time. And it may very well be that the magic has an end date, right? The magic may end at some point. But I think what the most impressive part of what this squad has been able to do is that they've been able to ride the wave and they've been able to be consistent with their play. And if they can continue to do that, and they can continue to show their best and not just play to the level of their opponent, but play to the best of their own ability, I think we can hope to see more of the same in the future.
Yeah, I agree. And Randy, before you go, I agree with everything you say, Ryan. And during this stretch, this next stretch before we hit our NFC East that we got, right? I just want to see improvement.
Yeah.
Look, if they drop a game because Detroit, wants to score a lot of points, because they can do that. And this is the NFL. Stuff can happen. Yeah, Trevor Lawrence, big arm, can run the ball, right? Stuff happens. But I want to see improvement, right? Yeah. I want to see guys making plays from that receiver room. And I keep coming back to this because we don't have a thin receiver room. It's not thin. The guys that are getting experience are young guys who are playing big. We got a couple guys. Galladay has played great football for us in the league. Slayton has played great football for the Giants.
Yeah.
Kadarius Toney, he's young. Phenomenal football player, right? And I keep going back to this because I want to talk it into existence. I want one of these guys, at least one. I do it on every show I'm on, Randy. I'm like, one of the receivers are going to step up tonight.
I just meant 3 weeks from now, Galladay is going to have his first touchdown. I said it weeks ago. I said it. Oh man, I literally have this mental picture. JC's going to send me a text. All of a sudden, Slayton's going to score a touchdown. Told you that was going to happen.
Hey, week 16. Hey, I told you.
I told you second week of our show, JC. We were week 10. We are in week 10 right now, JC. What are you doing to me?
Listen.
So one of the things I've always said about a young team, especially for Jacksonville, last year Trevor Lawrence had the worst situation you can possibly be in as a rookie quarterback, and they were just a bad football team. This year they're a young football team, and I when they lose the games that they're losing, I don't consider them losing. I consider them learning because they're such a young team. And I think the Giants went through that in 2020 with Joe Judge. I thought that Joe Judge had that feeling of the players being able to run through a wall, but it was just the first part of the season. And Ryan and I talked about that to nauseum. That first year they went 6-10. By the end of the year, people were sitting there saying the following year, the Giants are going to be something to watch. Yeah. Because they weren't losing, they were learning. Then everything fell apart last year. And that was Joe Judge's demise. But Jacksonville is in that similar sense of, I don't look at them as they're losing. I think that they're learning. I think in 2 or 3 years, Jacksonville is going to be a team that we're talking about being one of those upper echelon teams because they have a lot of young talent. And they're going to play the Giants really, really, really hard. This is either going to be a low scoring game or it's going to be a real high scoring game. There's no in between in the middle. And this might be the game where Daniel Jones gets to open it up a little bit because you don't have those major defensive threats. chasing after him like he's had so far this year.
Yeah, I look at Jacksonville, and I think being in a situation last year with Urban Meyer, with like, look, Jacksonville's franchise in general, like you don't really think much of. They haven't really won. They made it to the AFC. They made the AFC Championship a couple years ago?
Yes,
Yep.
yes.
I know they did really well, and it was surprised everyone out of nowhere, right? But then since then they took a step back, and then with Urban Meyer is like I don't know, honestly, I don't know what he was trying to do with the franchise, but that was like a major he took a shit on the franchise, bro. Like you know what I mean? And it wasn't like a highly regarded franchise before that anyway, and you got this sunshine, this quarterback who's super talented, and now it's like you got a team around them. You got ETN, you got running backs, guys that you can hand the ball to. You got receivers that can catch the ball. You got some capable linebackers on the defensive side of the ball. Look, it's so hard to win in this league. And a kid like Trevor Lawrence, he's so talented. He can go on the Giants, with Giants and coming to, Jacksonville. Going to Jacksonville.
I'm with you, brother. I'm with you.
But this is how my brain works sometimes. Like I could be literally talking about Jacksonville and be like, what am I
It's doing? The wine, man. It's the wine.
It ain't the wine. The wine's probably helping. But a kid like that, he's so talented. Like he can beat the Giants by himself because he can make all the throws. And if he don't throw the ball, he can tuck it and run with it. Yeah. Same with Lamar Jackson. And for us to be able to make those plays against Lamar Jackson, that gives me a lot of hope that we can make plays, like Ryan said, when it counts. Not early in the game, not when there's no pressure on the line. Yep. Fourth quarter, nut cutting time, Giants are making plays. That's what we want to see. And I think if the Giants can continue that, no matter who comes in town, the Giants will have some success. It don't matter who it is. Philly's going to come in eventually. We got to play Philly twice, right? But if they have that mindset, it'll be competitive. I'm not going to say we're going to win outright.
Listen,
Philly look better than when they won the Super Bowl. They look better than that team.
Listen, Randy's got to be the one that says they're going to win. And then we'll have a chance.
On you, Randy.
Yeah. Oh, great. No pressure. So, the other thing too, just a little fun fact, we know who's on Jacksonville also. Our old friend Evan Ingram is down there too. So, he's going to have a little bit more pep in his step, knowing that the New York Giants are coming to town as well. You look at the stretch that's coming up, and like you said, we still got Philly twice. You still have Dallas on the biggest stage that you can have is on Thanksgiving. Mm-hmm. You have the Commanders twice, and the Commanders are struggling. You have the Colts who are struggling. The schedule is, the ball is bouncing in the Giants' favor. Yep. And I think that's something that we all can take, and something that JC talked about before with the receiver room. And I was thinking about it. One of the things that I noticed the other day, and it sort of shocked me, it was Sterling Shepard was in the building the other day for the game, and he was firing up those receivers and firing up the offense. And I was talking to David Sills about that on Friday last week. And he says Sterling Shepard is one of the heartbeats of this offense. Mm-hmm. And the fact that he's there and he's prolonging, doing surgery and wants to be around the team, it's helping motivate this team. Now you're talking about the receivers. Apparently they found Darius Slayton because someone answered the ad that was on the milk carton that we were talking about last week that said missing and having Slayton's face on it. Darius Slayton is the guy who I think could step up and take advantage of being that receiver for Daniel Jones.
Yeah, it definitely could be. I mean, and the beauty of the system that we've got is that, he's talented enough to do that. He's talented enough to step up and be that guy. But there's a few other guys that are talented enough to step up and be that guy for that week. Wandale showed it this week, right? I mean, he was the one that stepped up and made the touchdown pass, or made the touchdown catch rather. So, I mean, it's kind of alluding back to something I said a couple of weeks ago, I think, when it could be anybody, right? And that's the beauty of this particular system. Any number of people can step up. I mean, our leading receiver this past week had 38 yards. Bellinger had 5 catches and 38 yards. That's our leading receiver. right? That shows you just, I think 8 or 9 people caught passes last week. It's contributions from everybody.
I
Right?
walked longer than that, those many yards walking to my car at the
That's
stadium.
correct. That's correct. You were winded when you did it, but that's all right.
I was very winded. I actually I had security help me at those last 1 or 2 yards. It was ugly. I felt really bad about bothering that nice man.
Listen, it's his job. It's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay.
This offense flows through number one, Saquon, right?
Yep.
Number two, Daniel Jones' decision making, right? Because he's a very capable quarterback. He can throw the ball, he can throw it deep, he can run the ball, and he can run it well, right? Yep. But it's all about his decision making.
Yep.
I don't mind him taking sacks. I feel like he's taken a couple sacks this year that would have been interceptions in the past.
Yeah.
I don't mind that happening. Yeah, I don't mind,
take the loss.
Right, taking a loss, not throwing an interception. Of course, we got to punt the ball, and then having our defense go out there and fight for field position, which they do a tremendous job of. And this defense, right, being led by the defensive line, is only getting better. They're getting healthy. They're getting better. They're playing with more continuity, and with Wink, pulling the strings for all these guys, they're in a good position. I think that points per game is, especially over the next 4 weeks, is going to drop. Yeah, I think it's going to drop. I think it's at like 19 right now.
Something like 17.
I think that's going to drop because the guys on defense, when you play a game that you just played and you finish a game like that, you have momentum. Like I said, there could be a possibility of a hangover. It could be a possibility of a hangover. But when I'm not talking about no hangover, I'm talking about these guys building momentum off of what they did to finish the game against a former MVP in Lamar Jackson, right? Go ahead and, taking it to Jacksonville and dominating down there. Not allowing them to do what they want to do at home. And I think the defense is very capable of doing that. Very much so.
I think, we talked about it before the Green Bay game. We talked about it before this Baltimore game. And it's how they've got the players believing in one game at a time, right? One quarter at a time, one play at a time. And that's great.
1-0 each.
Right,
week.
exactly. And that's a great mentality to have when you're going up against Goliath, right? When you're going up against a team that nobody really expects you to beat. Hey, one day at a time, we're going to take this one day at a time. We're going to take it one play at a time. The other positive about it, though, is that you take that same mentality to a team that you're supposed to beat, right? To a team that's maybe people are underestimating because it's a young squad or because it's got a few holes in their roster. If you take that, I'm gonna play my best on this play, and you don't think about the what people suppose is the caliber of the team that you're playing against, you can take that same mentality and that same attitude that you did, when you're beating up on Lamar Jackson. You can do the same thing with Trevor Lawrence. And by the way, I have to tell you, I love that you called him Sunshine, because every time I see that kid, I think remember the Titans, and I have to call him the Sunshine. That's fantastic. So,
and by the way, also one thing with Baltimore this week, also Leonard Williams back in the lineup.
Yeah.
And when you have him in the lineup, man, it frees up Dexter, and it's going to help Kayvon.
But listen, don't take nothing from Big 97.
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
Really good football to where when they look at this team, when you scout the team and you start looking, I think Dexter might get circled before Leo. I'm just saying for this year and what he's done.
Sure. Yeah.
Bro, I watched this guy and I'm watching clips of him. He's manhandling these linemen, bro.
Yeah.
He's grabbing these 320-pound men, right? These are huge human beings.
Yeah.
If you've never been next to an offensive lineman, they're 6'5", 320 pounds on average.
You're a planet.
Watch Dexter Lawrence grab these grown big old men and drive them back consistently. And I've seen him do it this year more than he's ever done it. And he's a force to be reckoned with. To be reckoned with. So Leo back healthy, Dexter Lawrence, Ojulari, Jihad. We got some guys on this D line.
Yes.
Got some players.
And I also want the listening audience to understand something. JC is describing what these linemen look like from his eyes.
That's right.
Now, I want you to know, when I go into the locker room and I stand next to these guys,
it's not quite the same.
I feel like I'm either going to run for my life. Yeah. Or I'm either A, running for my life, B, I'm their dinner. Okay.
I hope you're not hungry, big man.
Or C, I get lost behind one of them. You can't see me. You're on the side with them.
That's good if it's Saquon. It's not so good if it's you.
Exactly. One thing that we left off of last week's show, and I wanted to just touch on it because JC, you have a relationship with him, is the return to the Giants of Landon Collins. And I just saw the smile on your face pop up.
Guy, man.
Can you talk about what at this stage in his career Landon can bring to this young Giants defense?
Well, man, I saw Landon outside my house the other day. I think he's moving up the street if he's not there already. And I walked outside. I'm like, bro, what are you doing here? He's like, what are you doing? I said, bro, I live right here. And he was like, oh, I'm looking for this address. I was like, oh, I think it's right there. So I was like, bro, what year are you in? He was like, I'm in year 8. I was like, you're in year 8. That made me feel so old because I was there his rookie year, you know? And when Landon came in, the guy, man, when he would hit people, oh my gosh. I remember he hit, I think, the fullback from Green Bay in the flat. And I played weak side. He played free, and he would be on my side a lot. So we would always communicate. I got a whole bunch of pictures of JPP, me and him, like kind of, first row of defense, second row, and then Landon on the third row of defense. So me and him did a lot of communicating back and forth. We were involved in a lot of plays, you know what I mean? And I bang, bang, I hit him, he hit him, Landon hit him, I hit him. But I remember one time I'm running to the flat, kind of got out leveraged by the fullback. I didn't even see Landon. I didn't even see him. I'm running, and all of a sudden it was like, boo! And I got scared. Oh, I was like, oh, Landon hit this guy so hard. And like, look, I'm gonna be honest. Like, I played hard, I practiced hard, but like, I wasn't a born natural football player. Like, there were guys that were born football players. I think Levante David was a born football player. I think Landon Collins was a born football player. OBJ was a born football player. Like, there are guys that just do certain things that just be like, yeah, you're born to do this. Like, you're born to do this. Me, I just worked my butt off. Like, I'm an athlete, but I just worked my butt off. Like, Landon is a natural football player. He can tackle with the best of them, right? His coverage, people always talk about his coverage, but Landon plays in the box so much.
Right.
Honestly, Wink should bring him in here. He should be our nickel linebacker. I don't think anybody on a roster that can do things that Landon can do at the nickel linebacker position. We've had guys play that position. I remember when I was playing and Spagnola put me at dime Mike. I didn't like dime Mike because I never played Mike in my life, and I was calling the defense. I hated it. I wanted to be the nickel linebacker. That's what I wanted to be. Weak side. I can match up against the weak side, curl, hook, flat, drops, all those drops, which I was, the best at. Landon is a better player than I was at that nickel linebacker position. Is he the best deep free safety in the league? Probably not.
He doesn't have to be.
One of the better nickel linebackers in the league? Absolutely. And that's what teams need. You need guys who can play linebacker in space, not just free safety, not safety in the box. I'm talking about a real linebacker, a guy that can make plays in the A gap and a guy that can cover the deep half if he needs to. Landon can do those things for us. I think Wink Martindale, with his geniusness, will figure out, okay, Landon does do these things very well. He doesn't do these things very well. That's why Landon's on the practice squad. I think they're trying to figure out what he do for us. Right? And then when you put him in the game, you plug him in, you put him in the best position to win, not only for himself, but for the team. I think that's what's going to happen.
and that's the thing I think that's going to be important for Landon to buy into as well, right? He's coming in. He hasn't been through practice camp he didn't go through camp with these guys. He didn't go through the first 3 weeks with the guys. He's got to insert himself now on a team. He's got to become part of that team and not be on the outside looking in. But if there's anybody I think that can put him in a position to buy into the team mentality and to make the best use of his abilities, because if you're going to be a coach in the NFL, you're going to be good enough to make the most out of your players' capabilities. That's one thing that, I think every coach that's out there tries their best to do. But I think the success of this particular squad is that in addition to putting them in a position to succeed based on their capabilities, it's also to buy into that team mentality. And I got to say, over the course of the last 6 weeks, now I'm starting to believe in Wink we trust. And, if anybody's going to be able to do it, it's going to be him.
So what you're saying is you want to get one of those shirts that says Dable Wink 2024? Is that what you want to?
I do. And it's just the slogan is going to be F you all, right?
Yeah.
It's funny though. Like I when I look at Wink, right, I see one thing. And then when I hear him talk, I hear something different than what I see when I look at him, right? So it was during the Panthers game, right? And I was watching it with a buddy of mine, and I look at Wink on the sideline, and I just turned to my buddy, and I was like, bro, how many people you think he's killed this week? Right? Like, he looks like a dude that's going to show up to Meadowlands Stadium with 2 bodies in his trunk, like fresh ones, not even ones that he did last week.
What kind of people are you hanging out with, Ryan? These are the thoughts that are coming through your head.
But that's what he looks like. But when you actually hear him in the interviews, it's amazing to me. I heard him on the one that they were driving around Meadowlands with Sean O'Hara, and just the composure that the guy has. And the thing that caught me was that in another interview that I heard, somebody had asked him, what is it that you owe these guys? These guys are playing their hearts out for you. What do you feel is your responsibility to them? What do you owe them? And I'll never forget the words that came out of his mouth. He says, I owe them my composure. When they do well, they see the same me that they see when they mess up, right? Okay, you messed it up. All right, let's figure it out and we'll do it again. Because it's his job. If he's going to be at the helm of a ship that's steady and that's continuing to push forward and improve every week, week on week, he owes them his composure. And I thought that was an amazing insight and an amazing look into his mentality as a coach. And I thought it was fantastic.
But that's what you've seen from the players.
Yeah.
You've seen composure.
It's reflected
from the players, right?
I agree with you.
Y'all remember when Mayweather fought McGregor? You guys seen the fight?
Yep.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure you two seen the fight, right?
Yeah, I saw the fight. Yeah.
So y'all saw McGregor early, had a lot of success. Landed more punches than I'm comfortable seeing Mayweather get with. I was sitting there like, hold on, man, what is going on, right? He's catching them. He's kind of, he feels very comfortable that I can play with I can handle Mayweather. I can win this fight, right? Then after the fight, we know what happened. He got knocked out, right? 10th, 11th round. He got knocked out. He got exhausted. He got knocked out, right? Do you remember the interview afterwards when he interviewed McGregor? What did he say? You remember what he said? He said, he's not strong. He's not fast. He doesn't hit hard. He says he's so composed. He's so composed.
Yeah.
And that is Mayweather. Mayweather, he ain't knocking guys out like because of his punching power.
Right.
He's knocking guys out because of timing and precision, not punching power. Yeah. He hasn't possessed that in a long time, right? He's not that fast because he's old, right? I'm talking about that fight. All I'm saying is it's not, no matter what you have going for you or don't have going for you, when you go into these games, you're going to face adversity. You're going to get hit in the mouth. Yeah. You're going to get punched in the face. You're going to get hit with body shots, right? If you can take them and keep your composure to the end of the fight, which we are seeing from these Giants, you can win these games.
Yeah.
And it's because of what Ryan said. That's such a, I always talk about composure when I talk to high school kids. I always talk about that because a lot of these younger guys and the younger kids in the generations, they're so emotional. And I'm like, the game is played with emotions. It is, but you're not, you personally can't be emotional. Like, you can't be angry and then get sad. Like you can't do that. You got to be.
You got to channel.
You got to keep your composure. You have to
Mhm.
just stay steady the whole time. You know why? Especially in the NFL, the games are 3 hours plus.
Yeah.
If you start messing up early, you miss a tackle, right? Let's say you miss a tackle and drop an interception. Oh my God, like I gotta, like, bro, you're gonna have another chance to make a tackle. You're gonna have another chance at an interception. Your mind has to be right. Forget about that. Short-term memory is so key in the NFL, right? And I think the Giants are exhibiting not only just composure, they're showing like no matter what you did early in the game, we're going to come after you in the fourth quarter, defensively and offensively.
With timing and precision.
With timing and precision.
I have to ask this question about composure, and I had a flashback, and you were on the field for this. Josh Norman and OBJ. Composure.
What's your question? Because
I gotta tell you, I remember sitting in the press box that day, sitting there saying, "Just throw both of them out already," because they said because composure.
Playing in that game, right, and then watching the TV copy of the game, I was like, "Oh my gosh, all of this was going on in the game." Because once a defense off the field, we can't watch the big screen, bro. We got to go over adjustments. You know, like I would love to watch OBJ play football, but if he's on my team, I can't, you know?
Yeah.
So we're going over adjustments, and every now and again I'll see, one of the flags, but I don't see why. I don't see what's going on. But this is a young Odell, right? This is a young Odell where he was still like almost like an adolescent, like still making mistakes, still like, chasing after meaningless fights, right? Odell had no composure back in the day. He had none. The Odell now, the Super Bowl champion Odell now, the all-pro Odell, the Odell after certain injuries possibly could have ended his career, that Odell is a whole different person, right? And back in the day, like, listen, this is how good he was. We played Tampa. A lot of teams, any team that I used to be on, when we played them, remember we going down, we played them, and I asked, was it Jonathan Banks? He was one of the corners. I was like, hey, what y'all got for 13 today? He was like, what's up? Like, he didn't want to get done. I said, well, just know he about to kill y'all today. Like, because he's so good. Like, I'm like, bro, he's incredible. Like, I'm like, he is so good. And I wasn't trying to give them anything. I was just talking a little stuff, like talking a little shit, like, hey, 13 about to kick y'all ass today. Like, because I don't get to see the defensive guys. I get to see the offensive guys, So I'm talking crap, but that's how good Odell was. Odell didn't need composure when you're that good. Like, like you can fight a net on a sideline and then go out and score 2 touchdowns. Like, that's how good Odell was and is.
Yeah. Well, maybe that's the difference. I mean, the fact that we don't have that guy, right? We don't have that big number one. We don't have anybody that's good enough.
We don't have a 2
without composure. We don't.
We don't have a 2. Right? We have. I love David Sills. I love
even though
Ricky
y'all
James.
say that, y'all are wrong. We do have them. They just haven't played like.
Oh, okay.
Because we do. We signed Galladay.
Yeah.
The money he got,
big.
That's the number 1 receiver money, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Drafting Kadarius Toney as high as we did, that's at least a number 2.
Yeah.
At least.
Let me ask you this.
Well, wait. The year Slayton had his rookie year, that at least a number 2.
Yeah.
So we got at least 2 at least 2s on our team, at least 2s on the New York Giants. And then you draft Wan'Dale Robinson.
Yep.
And then don't forget about Sterling before he got hurt. We got a lot of capable guys.
Right.
They just haven't done it.
So here's the question. And JC, it's something that you alluded to a couple of weeks ago. And I thought it was a brilliant point, that the fact that Galladay and Toney, those guys that have such amazing talent, that have such incredible capabilities, that they just weren't field. And you made the point that, hey, maybe it's just that it's not their time yet. right? Maybe it's that it's not the part of the season. We talked about how Coughlin lumped seasons into quarters, right? Maybe it's not the time of the season where it's their chance or it's their time to step up and actually make something happen. The fact that they're still on the roster means that there's still a chance that they're going to be that they're going to have an ability to step up and actually be those guys if we're able to get them to buy into the system in the same way that we've got everybody else doing. So the question I have is, when they're healthy again, do they play?
They have to. They have to play. The money says they play.
Well,
right.
It didn't at the beginning of the season, right? Is
no,
it going to change at this,
the
later
reason
on?
why they have to play this year, because the Giants have to figure out, are we going to keep these guys or not?
Yeah.
Right.
Are they going to be here next year?
Right.
That's the question that they had. They didn't answer that yet. We don't know the answer to that question.
But that's
so Judge, Shane, they have to figure that out. And the only way you figure that out is playing them. That's the only way. And if they don't play a lot, we got the answer.
Now you know.
But that's the thing, though. It's the same thing we were talking about as far as Daniel and Saquon. They have money. Their contracts are coming up, and you have to see if you're going to pay this player X amount of dollars, are you going to get a return on that investment?
Yep.
And the thing is, I'm sure Kenny Galladay probably said to Joe Sean, trade me. And Joe Sean probably said, we would love to trade you, but there's no interest. Okay, then release me. We would love to release you, but that would screw up our cap even more. Then send me home like you did Golden Tate. Well, that's an option, but we're not ready to take that option just yet. So we're against the clock a little bit. I know we've been going for a little while. I definitely want to do predictions. I guess I'm going to go last because, I guess whatever I say.
Listen, you already know what you have to do. Just come up with a couple
know.
Of numbers.
You're the good luck charm, bro.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
All the Giants fans are picking the Giants. That's just what it is.
Yeah. Yeah. You know what, though? Like we said before, JC, you're the steak. I'm the potatoes. And the guy down below here is the mashed potatoes. No, yours are the macaroni, the mac and cheese. He's the mac and cheese. He's the mac and cheese.
Side dish you can.
I think he's switching it up every week, Ryan.
Yeah, it's okay.
I'm still the steak, though.
Yeah, you're still the steak,
as long
man.
as you're still the steak, you're good.
You're still the porterhouse, baby. We're good. We're good.
All right, real quick, because I wanted to ask you guys, right? I want y'all to put y'all GM hats on, right?
Okay.
Because we didn't. I say we as the franchise, the Giants. The Giants didn't do Daniel Jones's 5th year, right?
Yeah,
they didn't do that, right? So right now, Joe Shane with Daniel Jones after this season, what do you do with him? After let's say now I'm giving let's give a scenario, right? Let's say the Giants are 13-4, make it into the playoffs. Right? Win one playoff game. Okay. Now, Daniel Jones is up. As Joe Shane, what do you do with him? You can't get rid of a guy that won you the most games in the franchise history, because 13 games would be the most wins for the Giants in history. And then win a playoff game, which hasn't been done since 2007? 11. Right? You can't get rid of him. So what do you do? And that's just basically saying if it continues to go how it's going, basically.
Well, it's something you said earlier about this team. This team winning has sort of confused what the point of the season was supposed to be. This was supposed to be a year of evaluation of what you have in Saquon, what you have in Daniel, the guys who you want to keep as your core guys as you build to the future. Winning has sort of changed the perception of what you were looking to do. Now you have to make some tough decisions with Saquon and Daniel. And what you're saying, I'm not sure if I want to lock Daniel up to a long-term big money deal. Me personally, you can't give him a 1-year deal either. So I think you possibly look at a 2 to 3 year deal, and then you revisit this within the 2 years to see where you are. Because again, looking at what we've gone through, yes, big wins over Green Bay and Baltimore and Tennessee. Okay. Those wins came out of nowhere. But still, Daniel is not off the page as far as a upper level we're giving you Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes type of money. And that's the type of money this contract was warranting. You look at his franchise number, it's in the 30s. You look at his 5th-year option, it was 25. What he's doing right now is great, but is that warranting $25 million of cap space? So me personally, I say, you know what? You're having a great year this year. We'll commit to you for 1 to 2 more years to see if you can keep this up. And then after that, we'll
2 to
give
3,
you more.
because you said no 1. You said 2 to 3.
It has to be 2 to 3,
right.
Because if you do 1, then you're playing this game every single year of a 1 year up, 1 year up, and you're not giving him the confidence that he needs, that they're invested in him.
So I think you just said it, and JC, you asked me too, so I'm going to give my answer as well.
I want to hear it.
I think, Randy, you just said the magic words, and that's, let's show Daniel the love that we have for him. Right. If we're going to assume that 3/4 of the way through the season, he has shown the kind of success that he's shown the first quarter of the season, if he continues along that path and he continues to get better and he continues to manage the games and not make mistakes and be crisp with his passing and have a 70% passer rating and all of these great things, the 112 QB rating, whatever, and he continues to consistently do that through the course of the season, I think 3/4 of the way through, you sign him to a 3 to 4 year deal. I think at the end of the day, at that point, that you have something that's special. Think about how difficult it is to find what you would consider a franchise quarterback. Think of everybody that's been drafted, right, over the past 10 years, all of the quarterbacks that came through in the past 10 years, and how many of those were just misses, right? How many guys that were touted as this amazing franchise style quarterback, and they've just flamed out. So many. Jamarcus Russell comes to mind when I think about it right now. But at the end of the day, we found somebody, if he continues to progress the way that he has for the remainder of the season, I think you don't have a choice. JC, it's like you said, when he's putting up those kinds of numbers and you continue to win games, if he takes us to the playoffs, I think we should have made the decision even before that, right? 10, 12 games into the season. If he's still continuing to be what he's doing and you have the ability to spend the money at that point, it might just be that the money doesn't free up until later in the season. But at that point, you start making promises about, listen, we love what you're doing and we're going to lock you in, because it's hard to find talent that's like that. It's hard to find a winning combination. And when you find it, you just don't let it go. So I'm thinking 3 years, 3 to 4 years is my guess.
And then, by the way, I have to throw this out there to show you the uncertainty that the Giants did have in the beginning of the season with Daniel Jones. There was no coincidence that Daniel's contract was up this year, and they had Tyrod under contract for next year already. So they built themselves some security just in case it didn't work out, and they had to go into the draft and get a quarterback, which, by the way, they were not wrong to do.
No, of course, that's smart. You're hedging your bets at that point. It means that you have a good GM, you have a good front office that's going to be having the team in mind beyond anything else, right? So at the end of the day, you've got your backup. You know that you're set. If you're a guy that you think is going to be your number one flames out, you've got a guy that's super capable. JC, you said it before. This guy can be a starting quarterback on a number of teams in the league, and they would be quite happy to have him. So at the end of the day, that you've got your backup in place. But if your number one guy continues to show you that he can win games for you, or that your team can win games with him at the helm, and there is a distinction, there is a difference, that you got to lock him up. You got to.
Yeah. If I was GM, given that, success that he had early, and I'm thinking about as this success continues this season, right? That'll give the Giants about 3 to 4 losses on the year if it continues the way it does, which is a great year and a playoff win. And that's, of course, I'm just throwing it out there because we're trying to be GMs. We're not GMs. We're just guys talking on a podcast. But when I think of it, it's like, I'm Shane. Do I have my franchise quarterback? And that is not an answer that I know quite yet.
Right.
The reason why, because I know my coaches are good coaches. I know my coaches got the most out of Daniel Jones. Right.
Coaches aren't going anywhere either.
The coaches aren't going nowhere. So my thing is, as the GM, was like, okay, let's get Daniel Jones for another 2 years. Right. Let's give him some money, because we can't keep him without giving him money. We got to give him a little bit. Right. I don't really know how the contract situations go and how the salary cap goes, but I got to keep Saquon. So
Oh yeah.
got to give him franchise, whatever it is, franchise him, whatever it is.
And
Got
his
to keep
number,
the number would be crazy high, but signing a running back to a long-term deal might not be what we want to do right now this year, right? Until he can stack up a couple of healthy seasons in a row, right?
Yeah.
Right. And then my thing is let my coaches deal with Daniel Jones for another year. And then you analyze it again and be like, hey, these guys got this guy better. Now I can sign him for my long-term franchise quarterback deal, or he's not the guy for us. He hasn't done what he should be doing or capable of doing, or with this coaching staff, they didn't maximize his potential. So then we go look elsewhere. But it's so hard. I think the GM it's just such a hard job.
Tough role. You got to be able to tell the future.
Oh,
right. Yeah. And not only that, by the way, the franchise tag number on Saquon much more tolerable than it would be.
Yeah,
for
than
Daniel.
the one on Daniel Jones. That's why I say go Saquon, because nobody's trying to pay running backs. And like even me as a GM, you know how much I love Saquon. I talk about it every week. But this is not JC. JC will give Saquon 20 a year.
Big bills.
But me as a GM, I'm gonna give him the least
a little tight, a little tighter. Yeah. We've got a lot more space next year, though, right? I mean, at the end of the day,
a lot more space.
Set up, we've got a lot more space, and so he's going to have the ability to do a little bit more wheeling and dealing than he was able to do this year. Take the guys that have proved themselves over the course of the season, maybe sign them up long term. That's the other thing that we got to think about, because it's more than just Daniel and Saquon. We've got a lot of guys on the team that are on 1-year contracts, right? And if those are the guys that we're going to want to keep on the squad, we're going to have to sign them to 2, 3, 4-year deals, right? On both sides of the ball. So there's that money is going to get spent, right? And to your point, it's a matter of who do you spend it on and how much do you get? You have to leave players thinking that they're not constantly under this strain of an evaluation season, right? The thing that I worry about Daniel Jones, if we sign him to a 2-year deal, we say, all right, you showed us everything we wanted to see. You did everything that we asked you to do. We had a lot of success, but we still don't believe you're there, right? And that's going to be a hard message for him to hear. And I wonder if it demotivates him at that point, right? I mean, to what degree do you need to be like, look, man, you did everything that we've asked you to do. You've shown just marked improvement from the beginning of the year to the end of the year. We like to think that that's going to continue. So, I mean, if you're worried about it, maybe you make it an incentive-based deal. Maybe you do low guaranteed and kind of kick up the incentives on his contract to say, if you continue to progress, you're going to be able to hit these bonuses and get lots of money. Right. But we're going to lock you in for at least 3 years because we know that you're the guy that we know that we can bring you along because we've seen it this past year.
Yeah. But you said something before. I forgot which one of you guys said it, but this coaching staff has brought out the best in him.
Yeah.
And I've been complaining before about his stats on how it's 17 of 20, whatever, and it's only 100 and something yards. And this is the best that he's getting at, the coaches are getting out of him. That still doesn't, I'm not trying to compare him to other quarterbacks in this league because it's different systems and everything else like that. Yeah. But it's all like, I hate to
we're
use
5-1.
I understand. Look, the Kansas City Chiefs had great seasons under Alex Smith, and they had him under control, playing safe football, not making mistakes, not turning the ball over. Alex Smith was a safe quarterback. Daniel has done a very safe job this year. He hasn't been put in any positions where he's been exposed, that his weaknesses are going to be exposed out there. My big thing is what you guys just said is this coaching staff is bringing out the best in him. If this is the best, and I also want to remind everybody else one very important thing. Oh, Lamar Jackson's a free agent this year and listed the Giants as one of his teams, as one of the teams he might want to come to.
Randy, you and me are going to fight, brother. We are going to fight because we've had this conversation so many times, and I just don't understand why you won't believe in the man. But so
I'm not saying I won't. I have to play that other side of the fence.
I get
because you're looking at this kid again has been thrown so many curveballs. He's had so how many head coaches, how many offensive coordinators. He was nervous to learn the offensive lineman's name because he wasn't sure if they were going to be there the following week.
Sure. Of course.
Okay.
It was bad.
It was awful. And I'm just saying, and Dable is doing a great job, like we've been saying. He is getting guys to run through a wall for him, and that's awesome.
Yep.
Okay. But this is supposed to be an evaluation season.
Sure.
Okay. And they're keeping Daniel's game under control, which is fine. Again, he's not the sexy name across the league like Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen. You're not thinking of Daniel Jones as one of the first quarterbacks. You say, is he one of the best quarterbacks in the league? But his way his contract is set up, and because he was a 6th pick in the first round, he is expecting that type of money. And that is a very big thing. Sometimes it doesn't matter how well you play in this type of environment with what he's doing right now. He's going to expect something that the Giants may not want to give him.
Starter in the NFL.
Exactly.
Yeah, sure. But
that's what I was trying to say.
I hear you, man. I hear you. And your point is well taken, right? He's going to want starter money in the NFL. It's going to be a payday for him, no matter how you slice this cake. Whether you give him 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, it's going to be an expensive contract, right? But I think where I get all worked up, right, is when you start talking about they've brought out the best in him, and if what we are seeing is the best he can do, then you're only talking about 70%. I mean, 70% is great, but you're only talking about sub 200-yard games. You're talking about 27, 30 pass attempts, and really only hitting a few of those. I think the point of this season is for him to be safe. I think the point of this season is to not lose games. Right? You don't have to put it on your shoulder and go win games. But the point of this season is for you to go out and manage this offense, learn the offense. And I think what they know or what they're expecting is what they were hoping for, which is progression within the system next year. So that even though this year all you're doing is managing games, you're doing a great job at that. Next year you build on it, right? It'll be year 2 in Dable's system, which is ridiculously complicated. Right? All the pre-snap movement, all the weird formations, all of the different stuff that has to go into it. He's going to get better at that. And I don't know that we can expect Josh Allen kind of figures, but I mean, that's what that dude was able to do with his kind of system. Once he started to learn it, once he really started to master that system and make the most out of it, you add a couple of pieces in the receiver room, or even just get the ones, like we've been saying, even just get the ones that we have to play the way they're supposed to. Maybe those are the big guys that he needs to make it to that next level next year and in the years beyond.
And I got to point out one other thing too. I don't remember what the NFC division the Giants will play next season, but next year, as far as the AFC is concerned, they have the AFC East. So you already have the Buffalo Bills. You already have the Miami Dolphins. You have an upstart Jets team that's playing well right now. So like I'm saying,
how about those Jets though, man?
How about them?
Jets being a good team? Holy smokes, guys! What's going on?
I never thought I'd see.
Are we in?
Well, that's what. Remember, Ryan, what I said on Sunday on my way home from the stadium. I'm living in a world where the Giants are 5-1, the Jets are beating the Packers, and Geno's playing good football. I don't know what the hell.
Football.
I don't know what the hell's going on right now.
Hey, I like it.
Yeah.
I like it.
All right,
great time to be alive,
guys. Let's do some predictions and get on out of here. Well, I guess we'll start. We'll start with JC. What do we got for Sunday?
So look, just because, Randy, we know what you have to do. So I'm gonna be a little wild card. And I like to speak things into existence, right? So I feel like the Giants are going to score a lot of points this week. I'm going to go 31-17.
Wow. Oh, all right.
Look, okay. I look, because I play in the NFL and I know that games are always close, right? But I'm going to say the Giants are going to beat down Jacksonville in Jacksonville.
Okay. Ryan?
So I'm sorry, that's my cat.
I'm gonna say what was. What?
Where the hell are you?
You got animals now on the show. What the
Yeah,
hell?
it's Lyle King. There she comes again. Bam.
That was amazing.
You don't see that on ESPN. I'm just
No, you
saying.
don't. No, you don't. That's good
Oh,
stuff.
man, that was hilarious.
So I actually got to say, I was kind of the same feeling that JC's got about how we're going to open it up a little bit this coming game. But I think my expectations are tempered a little bit, and I'm actually going to do something that's a little interesting. I'm going to say that the Giants are going to win by the same margin that they won against Baltimore. I think it's going to be a 24-20 game. Giants win.
And I have to go against my heart and my mind, but I have to just do it. I'm doing what's best for the show. I'm doing what's best for the fan base. And I'm doing what I have to do. 24-20 Jacksonville.
Now I know the Giants gonna win that.
Awesome. We're ready, baby.
I just want to let you know I'm making somebody in Vegas a millionaire. Let's know that's how it's working. Zellea said 24-20 Jacksonville. Go 24-20 Giants. You'll win.
That's right.
Big.
Money in the bank, baby.
You have no idea how difficult that was. All right. Let's really quickly do some plugs. JC, where can we find you?
On Instagram, which is my main platform, Jade, JADE _50.